Hi guys, rubber band power time. This will actually be number 100 on this channel. There's quite a few more on my other channel, but since I've started this channel, this will be number 100. And rather than make a really complicated fancy one for number 100, I'm going to make a very simple one. We were out shopping today in the supermarket and I spotted this plastic tray which was on the display for the yogurt pots. I think they were yogurt pots, doesn't really matter what they were. They were things that sat in those holes, 8 of them, and there were quite a few of these empty left on the shelf, and I studied it for a while and decided this is going to be our rubber band powered car. It's got lots of convenient ridges and marks on it that we can use for guidance, so we don't need to do any measurement. What I'm going to do is, where there's a ridge down here, and the same ridge is on that side, same ridge is on that side, and there. So I'm going to use my favourite tool, if I can find where I've left it. Carefully stored. There we are, my favourite tool, nail on a stick. You could just use a sharp nail or pointy thing and push a hole through, but I'm going to heat that up and melt a hole through for the axles to go through. Now this is quite a long distance here, so your normal barbecue skewer axle is going to bend quite a bit when you put the tension on it. So I'll use one of these for the front axle, which won't have any tension on it, but for the back axle I'll use this one that I've used quite a few times, and it's a thicker axle, and it also happens to be carbon fibre tubing, because it's the spar, or one of the spars from one of my kites that broke. So that's really rigid, and that's not going to bend when we attach the rubber band to it. So the holes for the back axle will have to be wide enough for this tube to go through, and the holes for the front axle only need to be wide enough for an ordinary barbecue skewer. In fact, when I use this and heat it up, it's probably going to make the hole big enough for that in one go anyway. The only other thing I'll do is, if this is going to be the back, then at the front I'll melt a hole, or 2 holes, one there and one there, and we can put the rubber band through there, loop it through, hook it onto itself, and that'll come back here and wrap around the back axle. So that is what we're going to do. These CD wheels, I've used them in lots of my projects. There is a link in the video description to my playlist, help files for rubber band powered cars, and in there there's a video on how to make them. But it's just an ordinary CD. I happen to have put pretty coloured sticky back plastic on it, but it's an ordinary CD with a couple of bottle tops hot glued to it either side, and then that fills in the gap in the middle of a normal CD, which is, have we got any on the table here? No, I must have used them up today. That's annoying. But your normal CD's got a big hole in the middle of it. Yeah, big hole in the middle of it. So to use a small axle like that, you need to cover the hole over, and I use bottle tops to do it. And I've used exactly the same here on the back, but with big enough holes in them for the kite spar to go through it, the carbon fibre spar. Anyway, that's waffling on. That's got us on to about 5 minutes of the video and we haven't even built it yet. But build should only take seconds. Melt the hole, 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 melt the hole. 6 holes, job done. The nail doesn't actually need to be red hot to melt a hole through there, but it does need to be pretty hot. So, one thing you don't want to do is hold the plastic over the top of the flame, because the whole thing will heat up and melt. So, away from the flame. Hole, 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 hole. That's our 6 holes. I might have to enlarge a couple of those for the back axle. I'll try it out first, but they look pretty big to me. But we'll find out when we try the axle in there. Let's find out if they fit. Oh yes, plenty big enough. Make sure there's a little bit of space there. Front axle. So again, make sure we've got a bit of a gap. Okay, rubber bands, how many do we need? As usual, it looks like 3 will be too short and 4 will be too long. 2, 3, 4, that's a 4 that I've used on one of my previous projects. When I talk about the number of rubber bands, obviously it just depends how long your rubber bands are. These are cheap ones from Poundland, and they happen to be that length. Right, yeah, 4 is going to be too long. Much too long. Okay, well we'll go with the 3. So down through there, out through there. And then I just wrap them round the back axle so it goes round and it's underneath itself, and that holds it in place. So wind it up. Grab the camera. Excellent. Well, there we are. It works. It works absolutely fine. Very simple to make. We didn't really need to use the hot nail on a stick. You could have just pushed holes through with a sharp spike and that would have done the job. I just like using my hot nail on a stick. So what have we got? We've got a plastic tray from the supermarket that had, I think it was yogurt pots in it. It's quite a sturdy bit of plastic. Then we've got 4 CDs or DVDs, 8 plastic bottle tops for the hubs. For the front axle we've got a bamboo barbecue skewer. For the back axle we've got a 6mm carbon fibre tube, which was one of the spars on one of my kites that broke, so that's one of the remaining bits. Rubber bands from Poundland, and at the moment my 4K Evo DX action camera, which I like to put on these cars just so we get an onboard view. And that's it, job done. You might notice in the video that that wheel's actually got a rubber tyre on it. We didn't need it, but if you check my video description, there's a link to my help files which includes one on putting rubber tyres on the wheels for when you get wheel spin. That's it, job done.